We talk a lot about election reform and election integrity on this show. And we've got a good news story for you right now as Alan and I welcome the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation that has just issued a report that really says, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but that Florida now sets the standard when it comes to doing elections right. And with that, let's bring on our special guest. He is the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, J. Christian Adams. Alan and I are really glad you're with us here. Thanks for coming on, Christian.
Hey, thanks for having me, bud.
So, we did very well counting the votes on the 2022 election. We had everything wrapped up by about 9 o'clock, and a whole lot of states can't even come close to that, huh?
That's right. Florida has gone from the worst in the country, if you remember Palm Beach and all that mess,
yep,
to the first in the country, the very first state that gets returns. And it's not by accident. Florida's doing things right. It has a variety of policies that make this happen. Things like counting absentee ballots while they come in. They keep it secret, though. They penalize with a felony charge if anybody leaks ongoing election results from those early ballots. They have electronic poll books. They have a variety of things that speed the process along that makes Florida really a great story of improvement over the last 20 years.
Christian, where do you think we were going wrong before? We had the infamous hanging chads of the 2000 presidential election. We had the disasters in South Florida in 2018 in the races for Senate and governor. What was going on?
Yeah, it just was outdated systems. It was like an election being run like it was 1952's presidential election instead of a modern election. And Florida did a ton of things. So you had a really good state elections director. You have good secretaries of state. And laws were passed in Tallahassee. For example, there's a law that was recently passed and upheld by the court where when you vote an absentee ballot, you put down a code, a number, like your voter number, so nobody can steal your vote. And so little basic things like that made the system run better.
Tell us some of the other highlights in this. This is a pretty voluminous report. It's more than 80 pages long. So folks can really understand how we have come from being the laughingstock of the nation and the way we conducted elections a generation ago to, frankly, being the shining star and the gold standard of how you do elections right. Some of the other things you have found that we are doing right.
Well, you're getting your returns in, and we're knowing who wins elections in Florida before the rest of the country. And that's really important because people lose faith. People lose faith in the system when we don't know results for weeks. And that's why Florida, like the report is called, has gone from worst to first. You're getting congressional races in early. You're getting governor's races counted. You're calling the results within a few hours of the polls closing. And that's a really good thing in America these days, because when you have nonsense like the never-ending elections, it really makes people doubt the system. So Florida's getting it right.
And Christian, what about this new election squad that the governor came up with that is supposed to crack down on those voting illegally here in Florida?
Great point. Governor DeSantis has pushed for this, and now it's the law. Guys, it was needed. Here's what a lot of the mainstream joke media won't report. The Public Interest Legal Foundation, we did a report called Safe Harbor. You could read this. This is not made up. It's right there. You can read the reports. We did a FOIA sweep of all the big counties in Florida. All the big counties in Florida, their election offices, and we found 156 criminal referrals of election crimes from the supervisor of elections to the state prosecutor in that county. And you know how many of those are prosecuted? Zero. These are credible claims of election crimes that the state, they're called the state prosecutor, but they're really the county official. You guys know that. And the county prosecutor just threw them in the trash can, even though they're credible. That's why they needed a state office, because the county prosecutors weren't doing their jobs.
We're talking right now with the president of the Public Interest Legal Foundation, J. Christian Adams, about this report they have put out here on how well Florida has come to do elections.